The name of the show is not Don't At Me. The name of the show is At Me, and you're going to want to at me after I get done with this first 10 minutes. My ass. I mean, look, here's my background. Everybody has a background, okay? Here's my background. My background is I have been involved in 11 national stories. USA Today, Yahoo Sport, the whole deal. And none of them are true. None of them are portrayed accurately. They get it somewhat. So forgive me if my background, like I'll give you an example. Whenever anybody gets mad at me, they quote an Indy Star story where they say I called a high school kid a meth head. A high school kid in an Indianapolis Star story. I've offered the author $5,000 to find the audio of me calling anybody a meth head. Find the name of the person that I called. So I don't buy any of this crap. I don't buy Urban Meyer kicked this guy out of malice, Lembo. I don't buy it. Now, he may have walked up, messed around with him, and Lembo got his ass cut, and now he's all mad. I get it. And I don't want to hear from any of you media guys moralizing on Urban Meyer. Stop. I've been there. I've seen you. Stop it. Just stop that crap. Urban Meyer got fired for one reason and one reason only. He didn't win enough at a franchise that likes losing. Oh, he wasn't respected in the building. By who? By a bunch of dudes that went 1-16 last year, that lost 16 straight games in a row? Oh, okay. He didn't ride home on the team plane. So the hell what? Let me tell you something. We'd have paid money not to have Coach Knight go home on the team plane. Are you kidding me? He's not working hard enough. Okay. Hey, I can't defend what happened at the bar. There is some talk that he may have been roofied. I don't know that. And watch this. That's what the media that doesn't like me, because I'm on the wrong side of the media too, that's what they'll take out of this. I can't defend everything, but let he who has not sinned cast the first stone. I got jackasses on Twitter. Oh, you're defending your friend's adulterous life. I'm not defending that. He do whatever he needs to do. It's his marriage. One of the most famous coaches in the history of Indiana University, not Bob Knight, had an open marriage. Stop it. I'm not saying Urban does, but once that front door closes, you don't know what the hell is going on in someone's house, so just stop it. Just in Fishers, Indiana, a town where they say, oh my God, it's idyllic. It's one of the top 10 places to live. If you have a white rock in your front yard, means you're a swinger. Means you and your wife will have at it with another couple, and that's the advertising. So just stop with all the moralizing. You guys are out of your freaking minds with all that. You guys are insane with all that. Oh, yeah, you media guys. Look, every coach that comes to Indianapolis, it was a running joke. Went to Ike and Jonesy's, slid off their wedding ring. You know how many people I've been told, including my sister, that have been hit on by college coaches, pro coaches. Just stop with the frickin' media guys. Just stop with the moralizing. I don't moralize about that. That ain't my business. Everybody has flaws. Everybody has faults. Everybody's got them. The bottom line is this. Urban Meyer didn't win enough, and the media, he was on the wrong side of every little thing. These guys are mad because he drafted Travis Etienne in the first round. Let me ask you a question, just a question. You know who might be the MVP of the league? You know who's bringing the Colts back? Jonathan Taylor, second round. Etienne was towards the bottom of the first round. That's one of the things that these jackasses across the country are bitching, whining, and moaning about with Urban Meyer. My ass. Yeah, I'm Urban's friend. But I don't blindly follow somebody. It's not like we grew up together. It's not like we sat in grade school like me and Andy Atar and got kicked out of Mrs. Jacobs' class because Andy Andy threw pencils into the ceiling and I flipped her off. I mean, yeah, bad guy because, well, you can go on Twitter and act like you're some dude that matters. Good for you. Dakich supports Urban's adulterous lifestyle. Shut the f up. All right, let's go through. Hired Chris Doyle as the team's director of sports performance. Now listen to this. Doyle was accused of making racist comments and belittling players during his time at Iowa. Okay. Every guy that accused him had been kicked out of school. Maybe Urban knew that. Did you see what happened to the head coach at Iowa? Nothing. Not a thing. Because Iowa investigated, they decided to keep the coach. In this day and age, an old white guy accused of making racist comments, if they're true. So that's going to be brought up. I've told you about the list. Signed Tim Tebow as a tight end. Can you imagine? Oh, my God. Oh, my God. He signed Tim Tebow. That took a roster spot. No, it didn't. This happens all the time. I had Jeff Van Gundy as the coach of the Knicks in my freaking gym at Bowling Green. If you know people, this happens all the freaking time. College coach calls up and says, hey, can you give this guy a chance? I called Bill Parcells, and he sent 2 scouts out to watch 2 of my players at Bowling Green that were basketball players run. The scout, Gary Smith, said, yeah, DeMar's not fast enough. But I called Parcells. That's what you do. So that's a bad thing. Everything's a bad thing when you're on the wrong side of these jackasses in the media. Drafted a running back in the first round despite having James Robinson on the roster. You know what the Colts did? They drafted Jonathan Taylor despite having a 1,200-yard back in Marlon Mack. How about that? I mean, the list is always so stupid when you go through it. Openly admitted he was hoping to draft Kadarius Toney when the pick they used on Travis Etienne. Who cares? Somebody asked him a question. He gave him an answer. These are egregious. Oh, my God. These are egregious. I mean, can you imagine? And yet a guy that committed or was involved in a murder, Ray Lewis, dances out there in front of the Ravens fans still. Oh, my God. Can you imagine Urban Meyer did this? I can't believe it. What a horrible, heinous human being. Told reporters that they cut players due to their vax status. So what? You don't think that's true? You don't think that's true? You don't think the 53rd man on the roster that's unvaccinated competing with a guy that is vaccinated? You don't think that's true? Well, the NFLPA opened up an investigation. Good. We know the NFL doesn't want those comments out, but that's bad? Okay. Well, I'll tell you right now. My bosses told me they were going to fire me if I didn't get vaccinated, or at least I couldn't come in the building. I mean, do we live in the real world or do we just live in a big pile of bullshit? And you know the answer to that. A big pile of bullshit is what we live in. Had an open competition. Oh, my God, the horror. Can you imagine a coach trying to do something different with the Jacksonville effing Jaguars? Listen to this. Had an open competition for starting quarterback between Trevor Lawrence and Gardner Minshew. Minshew was later traded, but split valuable first-team reps with Lawrence. Oh, my God. He saw a guy. I saw Lawrence, and I'm like, I don't know. But in the NFL, when you get a certain rep, you are entitled to everything. And all the little dorks in the media with their little blogs and their little writing pen and their little typewriters, oh, he's losing value. Maybe, just maybe, Trevor Lawrence needed to compete for a job. Maybe, just maybe, a coach saw an entitled kid. I'm not saying he did or didn't, and said, no. We got a guy here that we kind of like in Lawrence. We got a guy here that we kind of like in Minshew. Let's see what happens here. Oh, my God, doing something different with a 1-16 team. How stupid of him. How could you not go into Jacksonville and just have status quo? Oh, but they didn't trust him, Dan. Who? Guys that were 1-16? They didn't trust him? So what? Didn't travel with the team. Now, this is a problem, I guess. Oh, my God. Because, well, NFL players need to be babysat. Because NFL players need their coach sitting in the front. Now, the pictures, I can't defend that. I got nothing for you. Mistake. Huge. But I'm not going to say anything about his marriage. What I know about his marriage is great. He and Shelley called me 2 weeks ago. We were watching the Colts on Thursday Night Football together. Report says he called his coaches losers. Oh, I'll guarantee you that this is overblown. And got in a heated argument with Marvin Jones. Oh, my God. Can you imagine getting in a heated argument with a guy that hasn't won shit? With a guy that has played on some of the worst teams ever, but we're supposed to kiss his ass? Heated arguments happen all the time. I mean, I know that this is the bullshit list that we're all supposed to go to because everybody's putting it out. So all you sheep out there that are criticizing me, God, can you imagine? He got in an argument with a guy that's been in the league at 31 years old a long time and so used to losing that this is how the guy reacted. He stormed out, at least according to media pukes. Oh, my God. My feelings are hurt. I'm storming out. Come get me. Love me. I'm Marvin Jones. I've played in 4 playoff games in 20 years in the league. Love me. Respect me. Shut up. And we're defending that guy. He benched James Robinson next. Really? So James Robinson is Jim Brown? Walter Payton? Nobody's the best they got. So what? They stink. I'd bench everybody. Everybody should have been benched. Gives a shit about James Robinson. You're losing. Everybody's on call. But that's not the way you do it in 2021, Dan. This isn't a Bobby Knight. No, but it should be. And there'll be a day where, and it kind of is with Belichick, but here's the difference. Belichick wins. This is all about winning. Former kicker goes on record and says Urban once kicked him and told him, hey, dipshit, make your effing kicks. Yeah, I ain't buying that at all. I get it. I mean, I ain't buying that even a little bit. As my wife, the lovely Lee Ross, said, what a bunch of babies. Look, Jacksonville is Jacksonville for a reason. It is. Jacksonville wants to just lose. The fans come out. They jump in the pool. It's nice weather. The owner's team, hell, his soccer team's been relegated. If you watch Ted Lasso, you know what that is. You guys act like, man, he took over the Patriots and screwed them up. I don't give a damn what business you're in. When you come in somewhere and it's a shit show, you have an obligation to change that shit show. Period. That's what they hired him for. Hey, look, I get it, though. I mean, the NFL, it's a bad look, right? Isn't that what all you skinny jeans guys say? It's a bad look. Well, what kind of look is it that the NFL funds organizations that want to defund the police? That's a hell of a look. That's a good look. Stop with the looks. Dude didn't win enough. When I talked to him the other day and I said this on the show, I said this on the show. I said, hey, look, I did not like what the owner said. I thought what the owner said was pretty damning the other day. I did. I thought the other day the owner was like, hey, you know what? I'm going to fire this guy because it's hot. It's too damn hot. And that's what he did. See, to win big in any league, to win big anywhere where it's tough, you got to go through some shit. You do. You got to go through some ish, man. It just doesn't happen. Urban was taking them through some ish. And if you don't understand that, I can't help you. Hey, fire them. Here's what I do with my friends in coaching that get fired. I congratulate them. Because coaching, we're worried about whether we bench James effing Robinson. That's what all these little dorks in the NFL media are worried about. James effing Robinson. whether we signed Tim Tebow. Think about that for a second. Give that some thought. So the owner comes out, and he's bitterly disappointed. F you. You got what you wanted. You don't want to win. You don't want to go through what you need to go through to win. A lot of people are saying, well, you can't tell me, Dan, that Urban didn't want to get fired. Why? Why would he want to get fired? So he can get his money. Do you know what a hassle it's going to be to get his money? Do you have any idea what a pain in the ass it's going to be for Urban Meyer to get his money? Because they're going to say they fired him with cause. Every time I talk to him, and who knows if he's being real with me or not. I mean, we have a pretty good relationship, but it's not like, as I said, we grew up together or were roommates in college. I mean, but I do talk to him. And he was very excited what he thought he could do with the future. And I hope the Jaguars tank it. I hope the Jaguars continue to get their ass beat. Jaguars don't deserve to have a winner. Jaguars, if you're worried about optics in football, you got to be out of your effing mind. Optics in football? In NFL football? Who was the dude that killed somebody, ran him over in a car, did a few years, came back and played wide receiver? Now he's a mouth. Now he's a voice. You guys are out of your freaking minds with these lists. Please, don't bring them to me. I'll bring them to me if you'd like. The website is don't@atmetheshow.gmail.com. Shut the hell up. Jesus. When he didn't drive home with the team. Yeah? Matt Arthur, you can't convince me he didn't want to get fired. No one acts like that who doesn't want to get fired. Act like what? This dude, Matt Arthur, lives in McCordsville, Indiana. So how in the hell does he know what Urban Meyer lives? And I'm reading that off of his thing. Look at Jabari Jackson. Wow. Just heard 5 minutes of your show for the first and last time. You spent the whole time insulting the listeners. If that's what you call defending Meyer, and you can't see he did nothing to improve that organization but set it back, there's nothing else to say. Yeah, good, Jabari. Good for you, man. I'm sure you're a very nice man. I'm sure you're a very nice man. Remember when Jacksonville fired Tom Coughlin because he was too mean? I don't think it was the same owner. It's very good. Not a single person on that team came to his defense. Your little brotherhood is cute. At least you are a loyal friend, I guess. That's Dustin, Noblesville, Indiana, Colts fan. All these people that react, all these guys that react are fans of somebody. Like some guy did the old, this is my favorite, says a lot about your character, Dakich. I love says a lot about your character guy. Those are my favorites. I looked this guy up. Guess what? Michigan fan. So what if it was dysfunctional? So what? I mean, I get it. Here's the deal. And when I was on OutKick 360, the fellas brought this up. There's nothing more ridiculous than when the team gets in the NCAA tournament, Seth Davis on CBS welcomes them to the NCAA tournament. That guy never been in the tournament. That dude just like a sideline reporter somewhere. He's welcoming into the NCAA tournament. Why do I bring that up? It's the same thing with NFL media. NFL media thinks that they are high and mighty. You got to go through the ranks. You got to prove to us you deserve the job. On all of you. I like doing that. NFL media. I forget who brought that up yesterday, but it was on OutKick 360, and they're so right. They get so emotional. And look at right now. Whenever a media guy loses a job, all these whiny-ass media guys, oh, my God, journalism is no good. Meanwhile, the guy was probably having sex with a cat somewhere. Now look at them all dancing on the grave. Urban Meyer got the last laugh. Great family, more money than he could ever do with, Hall of Fame and everything he's been, except the Pro Football Hall of Fame, I assume. Beautiful wife, wonderful kids, great grandkids, and Ian Rappaport doesn't like him. Oh, boy. Really? Some blogger for the Denver Broncos don't like him. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Maybe Dan Wolken doesn't like him. Oh, man, that's a terrible life you got going there. To go out to great Congressman Davis in one of the great shows of all time, The Wire, sheep. Love that man. All right, so Urban's out, Darren Bevel's in. Well, can you imagine? He called his coaches losers. I guarantee you that's not what happened, because I know what happened, and that ain't what happened. But I get it. I get it. We're all supposed to genuflect. Look, they're coming for all of us. They came for me. They come for Clay all the time. We know they're coming. Don't sweat it. They came for Urban. They got Urban. And they had an owner that wants to lose. It ain't no big deal. You got an owner that wants to lose. You got a franchise that always loses. Hired Darrell Bevel. He wasn't smart enough to give the ball to Marshawn Lynch. See, if I were Urban, this is my problem. I'd be like, yeah, Darrell, our quarterback's going backwards. Why didn't you give the ball to Marshawn Lynch? Hey, Darrell, first I wouldn't have hired him. But, you know, you come into the NFL, you got to hire. Then that wide receiver coach, a lot of word on the street about that guy. And who leaked what to the press, I don't know. But a lot of word on the street. The street talks, people. Anyway, I applaud, and I sent Urban a congratulations along with an Andrew Dice Clay meme, which is always funny. That probably offends half of you, too. Oh, my God. Dakich would like Urban Meyer. All right. About last night, I've gone over. The NBA was fantastic last night. Hey, you know I bitch, whine, and moan about the NBA like it's my job. But the NBA, I'm going to get back to Urban with Bobby Carpenter, by the way. I bitch, whine, and moan about the NBA. Nobody bitches, whines, and moans more than me about the NBA. But, man, last night's Lakers game, holy cow, was that good. And not just because I took the Lakers on the money line, and I gave you that yesterday. And no, I didn't. No, I didn't. I gave you the Kraken yesterday, and they won. No, I'm sorry. I gave you the Mighty Ducks. I did lose, though. I did lose on Lipscomb. Lakers 107-104 over the match. It was fantastic. LeBron James playing his you-know-what's off. Russell Westbrook can't make nothing, then he drills a three. Great game. Luka Doncic's fat ass was sitting there on the sideline being fat, looking like Zion Williamson. The Pacers, my team. Listen to this. So the Pacers, a couple days ago, are such a organization that their general manager, one of the all-time face guys, named Kevin Pritchard, who got the job because he's butt boys with Larry Bird. So Pritchard uses the term, well, we really don't have any stars. Now, you got to understand, Pacers have never won a playoff series. You got to understand the Pacers stinks this year. But he uses the term, so Domantas Sabonis and Miles Turner get mad. It's unbelievable. So yesterday, this is what happens in indie media. When the Colts have a problem, Ballard calls out his five guys from The Athletic, guys from The Star, little blogger boys. They have milk and cookies. Grandpa Polian calls in, and everybody writes nice stuff. Pacers did it yesterday. Herb Simon, the owner, called out five of his little media twerps. They come out. He tells them, we got a really good team here. You know what they do? They go to Milwaukee without the Greek Freak, without Middleton. They got 7 or 8 guys, and they get beat in the fourth quarter by 20 points, a 22-0 run. My Pacers, they stinks. They stinks to high heaven. I always like it when the Sixers lose. I don't, though, this year, because I want them to win without Ben Simmons. But the Heat got him last night. I'm a big Heat fan. Why am I a big Heat fan? I think Spoelstra's overrated like hell, but I also think that Duncan Robinson's one of the great dudes ever. Duncan Robinson and my son were roommates in college. Duncan Robinson spent a lot of time at the crib here at the Dakich household. I want my daughter to marry Duncan Robinson, so I like the Heat. But I'm telling you, man, that game last night, To quote you children out there, that game was fire. That game was fire, yo. Holy cow. All right. What do we got? Bobby Carpenter coming up here. I'm looking at the rundown. I've already screwed the pooch with the rundown. I've already gone. Oh, and by the way, the Rockets just tanked it last night. Holy hell, I missed that one. The Rockets were down 37 at half. I think it was 40 at half. It was like 47-16 at one point in the second quarter. Rockets, if you ain't going to show, let the taxpayers know. All right, I got some PSAs. I got Deion Sanders to talk about the Super Bowl going to Vegas. Yeah, I'm sure all those media guys that are moralizing on Urban Meyer, I'm sure they're staying in the hotel room. And the Mad Crapper is out for the year in the NFL. He might be back for the playoffs. I'll tell you who that is. I'm on one. Tell your friends, go to YouTube, go to frickin' Twitter. It's Dakich. It's at me today. Get rid of the don't. At me, at Dan Dakich. The man. He is the man. He's the perfect guy to have on today, and that is Bobby Carpenter. All right, Bobby, you saw the news of Urban. What do you think?
Oh, goodness. I was just sitting here thinking what they needed to do to kind of quell this storm a little bit. They have an opportunity to have 2 winnable games. Like, all right, you win those 2, all of a sudden you win 4 games. And then it's a little bit different going from a 1-win team to a 4-win team in one season. You have the number 1 draft pick, Trevor Lawrence. Maybe he's improving a little bit. But, it wasn't overly surprising. The thing that's surprising is that it's his first year. He has 4 years left. But here's the thing, Dan, and you know this as well as anybody. When you become the story as the head coach, you better be winning games. And if you look at this going all the way back to the beginning of the year, Urban Meyer is a big personality. He's a big person in the sport. Everybody knows him. That's part of the reason they brought him in. He's a culture guy. He's very demanding. And he became the story going all the way back, to OTAs, hiring of Doyle, Tim Tebow coming in, obviously, not flying back after Cincinnati and the bar incident. And then now the leaks with the coaches. And Bill Parcells, I reference him all the time because he's like one of the godfathers of coaching to me. And Bill Belichick is the same way. Like, they really don't let their assistants speak to the media. And because when you start to get dissension in the ranks and your assistants are leaking things out, and now we're seeing stuff, Dan, it's not from the players. There was the Marvin Jones alleged incident, and both he and Marvin Jones talked about this and said they handled it like men, and that's what it was, and it wasn't that big of a deal. I mean, there was a disagreement, obviously, but, those things happen in regards to professional football and professional sports. You have disagreements, coaches, players get heated, you talk about it, and Marvin Jones is a pro. He said he handled it like a man, so did Urban, and they were good. But there was the stuff that was being leaked out about the staff, how he was hard on his staff and telling them to get their resumes ready. And he was calling them losers and all these things. That meant that there was someone on the staff, maybe multiple people, who were trying to leak this out, who, there was dissension in the ranks and trying to tarnish a little bit of what he was. Now, Urban's a hard guy to work for, very hard guy to play for, but harder guy to coach for. The staff, they're the ones that take a brunt of a lot of that. And so I can understand that. And when you run a system like Urban does, if you don't have complete alignment all the way, from someone who's serving the food to your offensive coordinator to your general manager, it does not matter. If you don't have that and you're not winning at a high level, you're going to start to see those cracks. You're going to start to see the chinks, the schism that's going to start to happen. I think we began to see that. And at that point, it was only a matter of time, because I don't think they were going to probably be able to win enough games. And ultimately, with the stuff coming out with the kicker and everything, I think that was probably just the final straw that Shad Khan said, hey, this is just too much about you and we're not winning games. And so, you know what? It's probably time to move on.
I felt like the other day when the owner came out and didn't, said, hey, look, I'm going to take my time with this. I didn't think that was very good. I talked to Urban a few days ago, and he thought, hey, look, we better win 2 of these games, and that surprised me because I felt like, well, you hired him to do a job that really hadn't been done very well there. Bobby, let me ask you this. A lot of people, what would be next? Like, I know Urban could go into TV. I assume I wouldn't do any of it if I was him, but would an AD hire Urban? What do you see that's next for him?
Well, I would say this, time cures a lot of things. The guy has won 3 national championships. But I talked a little bit, in Carp's corner. I'm getting into that today, where I think, Dan, it may be more difficult now to coach in college athletics than professional sports. And let me tell you why. When, at least in the NFL, you have guys under contract. And so you have your guy for 2 years, for 3 years, 4 years, whatever it might be. And so you can coach them that way. And the only way they're leaving is if you trade them or release them. Now in college, if you try to grind on guys like that, hey, coach, see ya. I'm heading off to the portal. And I've got NIL money set up over there. And so you're going to have a hard time instituting that culture of toughness and accountability in college. It's not to say that Urban can't do it, but I saw a little bit of strain, in the NFL of trying to deal with some of these issues. And now with college, I can't even imagine how he would be able to handle this. Could he get back into TV? Yeah, I think he'd give it a year off. He could. I think he could ultimately probably get back into college coaching. If you look at where the salaries are right now, what people are paying, coaches jumping and moving around, the fear of being irrelevant is massive in college athletics because you have to be near the top to be able to drive the TV dollars, to recruit, to bring boosters and all this stuff. Urban Meyer would give you that. Now, I'm not sure exactly how well he would do under the new paradigm that has existed now for the last 6 months in college athletics, but here's all you need to know. And Dan, you coached in college basketball for a long time. You've covered the sport for a long time. College football is the same. You look at Rick Pitino, he got a lot of jobs in college after, some issues professionally and obviously some personal things and all this stuff. I always use this guy as a reference because they coached together at Louisville. My brother was on his staff. You look at Bobby Petrino, how he left Louisville, what he did in the NFL, what he then did at Arkansas, how he ultimately left Arkansas, and then Louisville ultimately rehired him. And he got him to 10 wins and got him a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Like, if you can win in college football, college basketball, that's really all that matters. They'll take everything else that comes with it if you'll be able to give them that success. And so I think there would be someone out there who would ultimately do it if they were desperate enough. And that may happen, probably not for a year, maybe not for 2 years. But you also got to think, Dan, I mean, what's Urban, 57 years old? When he's 58, does he really want to be able to go back and be building this again? Like, I just can't see it. I don't know financially it's necessary for him to do. I'm quite certain that it's not. And I just look at a guy right now who in the last year, Dan, it looks like he's been the president of the United States with how he has aged. And I don't know if he really wants to go through that again.
No, I'm with you on that. I noticed that yesterday. When I talked to him, you always want to feel relevant. You always want to feel like you're doing something. I told him, come on and co-host here. He likes Clay. He likes OutKick. Just come here and co-host. We'll have a good time. What the hell? Hey, let me go into recruiting just a minute here. Deion Sanders flips a recruit from his alma mater. What do you think about? Is this a trend? Is that like Doug Gottlieb's criticizing, saying, well, the kid is going to a lesser place with lesser teammates, bad decision. I don't feel that way, but I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, we see guys do this in basketball occasionally. They go to a smaller school. I mean, it happens sometimes in football where there's 4 or 5-star guy who maybe wants to stay closer to home. I mean, he can criticize all he wants. I mean, there's a bunch of Hall of Famers that are FCS or 1AA players.
Yes.
You look at Jerry Rice and Walter Payton. You could argue that 2 of the greatest players went to Division 1AA or FCS schools now. So,
see, I would argue Walter Payton's the greatest player I ever saw, not named Bobby Carpenter, and he went to Jackson State, I think.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. Like, they can come from anywhere. I was just having a conversation with a friend of mine about how these guys in the NFL, how some of them can come from these smaller schools, and with recruiting, how can they be missed by the Georgias, the Bamas, the Ohio States? I mean, it just happens. And so you can get developed anywhere. It's not like he's not going to be developed. The position that he plays he was coached by arguably the greatest player at that position of all time in Deion Sanders, a defensive back. So he's going to get the coaching. You can get some NIL money. I'm sure there's some deals and all this stuff worked out. And you wanted to go play for Prime. Like, I give Deion a lot of credit for being able to get this done. By hook or by crook, this is something that nobody saw coming. And he did it to his alma mater. I wouldn't be surprised if Deion Sanders is the next head coach at Florida State, especially if Mike Norvell doesn't turn this thing around. And I don't know if it's a trend, but I could see this being something that happens more frequently now than ever before, which it never happened. And so if it happens a couple times a year, maybe once every other year, I think that's where we could be living. But I don't think you're going to see a case, Dan, where all of a sudden, 5 guys in the top 25 are now going to HBCUs or going to 1AA schools or FCS because, hey, they've got a coach and they've got some NIL money for me.
Bobby, let me go. COVID is hitting. We just had a basketball game. Penn State got canceled. We've seen NHL games. We've seen NBA games. The NFL is retooling its protocol. Do you think COVID, what do we do here? What do you think is going to happen? Let's keep it with college football and professional football. What are we going to see during the bowl season? What are we going to see during the NFL season moving forward in the playoffs?
Well, the NFL, that's why they're going back right now and readjusting their protocols. They were just testing guys once a week. And so it's like, okay, you don't want to find out. You get guys out there. The problem is, though, things can spread through the locker room when you don't do that. So that's why the players' union's a little bit, I told you so. it wouldn't surprise me now to where this is something, Dan, and I think there was even an article in the New York Times, which I don't really read, or, there are a lot of these print media where people are finally realizing like this is going to be something that is going to be here. We're going to have to live with, spread rates are up, hospitalizations though, like severity of illness is down. We're talking about the youngest and healthiest population group that you're going to find in collegiate and professional athletics. These guys have trainers, they have nutritionists, they have monitoring, 24 hours a day. And so they're going to go back and retool this because the NFL does not want their product to be poor in the postseason and down the stretch. This is when people are starting to lock in, and they don't want to see a situation where the Browns are 5.5 point favorites and go to 1 point dogs in like a day and a half because they was 8. Now I think it's up to 14 players, head coaches out, Baker's out. Like they don't want to see these big shifts. It's bad for the sports books. They care about that. And it's going to produce a poor product when you have that many backups on the field. So they're going to go change it. I have a tendency to believe that college football will begin to do the same, that they'll look at this a little bit of the same way and say, hey, these guys, they're contracting this, they're getting, but are they really getting sick? And to this point, Dan, if you look over the last 2 years, it's not like when there's been a team that's played that's kind of had an outbreak. They haven't really spread it to another team. There's been none of these super spreader games where one guy went in with it and 25 or 30 guys on each team came out. Like that hasn't happened. And so I think they have enough data and everything that they're going to start trying to tweak this so they can continue to play. And I always say, follow the dollars. There's money in games being played. There's money in having the best players out there. And I think that we've gotten to the point now after a year where it's like, okay, we think this is fairly safe. We need to start getting back to normal. We'll just figure this thing out like the seasonal flu.
I always said as a Coach Knight used to say this, and I'm sure your coaches did, don't make definite rules. Don't say, hey, look, if you do this, then this is absolutely going to happen. Don't say we're canceling games. Don't try to look like a hard ass if you're not willing to back it up is kind of how I look at this. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. And that's I talked to my parents about this. When you start to have kids, it's the same thing, coaching. When you make things really black and white and you paint yourself into a corner and then all of a sudden you have no recourse to either A, you lose credibility and look like a liar, or B, you have to go through with something that you really don't want to or truly believe is the best decision to make. And so that's why I think the NFL has been very quiet on this. We're trying to retool protocols. We're trying to look at some things, and they're trying to figure this out, get more data. And truly, Dan, like this, that's the mark of any intelligent person. Like I can believe something today, and if new information arises, and this is what drove me crazy about the Big Ten last year, like, hey, I understand you want to be safe. We don't know a lot about things. Let's proceed cautiously. And then as more information comes out, then we take that new information into account. We add it into whatever our formula is we're constructing, and then we make a new decision based upon that. And so if you're going to say, hey, it's going to be this, and this is the only way it's going to be, you're eliminating the possibility of any new information that could arise that will ultimately change your decision. And I think that's the thing, that great coaches, really intelligent people, great leaders don't ever do is paint themselves into a corner where they have no recourse other than to make the one decision that they said that was going to happen.
Coach Knight used to say, I listen to my players on all the things I don't care about.
It's great.
Where you guys want to eat tonight? I don't give a damn. Hey, Bobby, this NIL stuff, let me go back to it real quick. Is this real money? I mean, is this, I saw the Ewers kid came in, got $1 million. A lot of people are complaining when they transfer, they got to give money back. What do you see here?
So the devil's always in the details. I want to see what these contracts look like. And none of the marketing guys who are involved, like they really don't want to reveal what this is looking like. And I've talked to some other members of the media and, as these guys move and they get these big 7-figure deals, well, what does it look like? Is it, how much are they getting per year? Are there play incentives attached to it? Are there incentives where they have to be at a certain school? What are the stipulations? What are the details in the contract? And that is something that we really don't know yet. And especially on some of these big deals, because let's be honest, Dan, the people that are signing these guys up, I mean, everybody's made mistakes in life. And maybe they made a couple mistakes, but they're not naive enough. They weren't foolish enough to just say, hey, here's $1 million. whether you play or not, you're getting all of it. Whether you transfer to 4 schools or stay at the one that we signed you with, you're getting it all. Like, I cannot foresee an intelligent business person doing that. And if they did, then you know what? They're going to eat this. But as they see all these guys beginning to transfer, I guarantee you there's going to be clauses in these deals. And this is starting to look very professional now, but this is the world that we're going to live in. There will be clauses in these deals that will encourage, playtime incentive, award incentive, school incentive, all those things to help protect the person who's paying out all this money.
I agree. I agree. Let's go to some quick hot takes. Urban Meyer, I say never coaches again.
I don't think he does either. I mean, you talk about him being 57, 58 years old. I think he could get back in the college game, but does he want to get back in the college game based upon how it looks now and then sitting a year out at that age? I just don't think there'll be a great situation that he would want to entertain should anything arise. He's pretty happy doing TV, and I could see him sitting out a year. And Dan, and getting back to what you and I do, doing things where you never lose a game. When you're on the call, when you talk to a camera, there's no wins and losses. You don't maybe get that great high, but you also don't have to sulk in defeat as well.
Hey, the losses almost killed me. People can talk about Michael Jordan being – my dad always said, you're so stupid competitive that if you ever lose, it's going to kill you. I did, and it almost did. The Chargers are going to get their ass kicked by the Chiefs tonight.
I believe Chris Jones is in the COVID protocol, and if he doesn't play, that'll give the Chargers a fighting chance. If you look at the Chiefs and how well they've played, it's been in direct correlation with the reemergence of Chris Jones. Now, Spags has that defense playing better, and the offense is beginning to come around. No Chris Jones will give him a fighting chance. I ultimately took the Chiefs to win this game. I think they do. But if Chris Jones isn't able to play, that's going to be a huge advantage for the Chargers because I think he honestly is the most important defensive player to his team right now in the NFL.
Steve Spagnuolo, the defensive coordinator, and I were friends at Bowling Green. He brought my somewhat inebriated wife home, he and his girlfriend, one night when I left the party early to go watch film. I digress. There will be a game canceled in the NFL due to COVID.
I don't see that happening. I don't think there were any games canceled last year. There may have been some postponements, maybe 1 or 2. The NFL added a game this year, Dan. They were trying to make more money. They're not in the business of canceling games. They're going to get that product on the field, and they're going to change the protocols if they need to do that to get it done. They are going to play every single game this season.
I actually, that was a bullshit hot take I gave you because I agree with you totally. My boys, the Colts, for the first time in forever, are actually favorites against the Patriots. 2 things. This is the game of the weekend, and the Colts are better than the Patriots.
I think the Colts might be more talented than the Patriots. I think this is the game of the weekend. If Jonathan Taylor can run the ball effectively, the Colts win. But I will need to see that early on to be able to have success because Bill Belichick, we've seen it. The one thing he does is take away what you do best. And if he can stop the running game and push that game back onto Carson Wentz, Carson's playing well this year, but I would not like to see that against the Patriots secondary and a defense that's playing well. The Colts have to continually be able to run the football. Bill's going to do everything he can to stop that. And if they can succeed, they win. At this point right now, I'm favoring the Patriots a little bit, but early in the game, you'll be able to tell if the Colts should be able to win it.
Yeah, I think everybody here in Indy, I swear to God, Bobby, we're all saying that exact same thing. Please, God, don't make the offensive guard, Quentin Nelson, tell the head coach to run Jonathan Taylor without an RPO. Please, please.
Absolutely, man. Listen, they know it. Players understand it. They know the pathway to victory, and they're going to sit there. And this is the thing with Bill Belichick, Dan. If it takes him putting 8, 9 guys, he'll do everything he can. And then he'll say, go beat us some other way. And so, you know what? You've got to stay consistent with it. You have to throw some change-ups, but you just can't get scared and get away from it. You have a talented running back. Jonathan Taylor's on my fantasy team. I've drafted him the last 2 years. I think he's a great player. I love the guy. Loved him at Wisconsin. They've got a really great O-line. Quentin Nelson, get behind him, saddle up. It doesn't have to be a pretty win. Who cares what it looks like? The game could be 16 to 13. There is no NFL playoff selection committee. Just win the darn thing, and then you'll be in a good spot.
And no idiotic fake punts like 6 years ago. None. Nothing stupid like that, Bobby.
Hey,
None.
Bill will let you beat yourself. He will give you everything. Hey, you know what? Go ahead. He'll make it so enticing, Dan, for you to try to get real smart and think you can outsmart him. But his teams are so well coached, they will not let down in situational football. So you have to stay disciplined if you want to beat him.
You're the best. What you got on the show today? What's going on?
Oh, goodness. I don't know if you saw this. Fox put out a list of their 25 most valuable college football programs. We'll dive into that. Ryan Day, some overtures about the NFL. Could he potentially be leaving there? And is that ever going to stop? And like I said, is it easier now to potentially coach in the NFL or professional sports versus college, Dan, with this crazy transfer rule?
You're the best, my friend. Thanks for coming on, Bobby. If I don't talk to you, have a great Christmas. Thank you so much.
Oh, I plan on it, Dan. Thank you so much. Merry Christmas.
All right. That's the great Bobby Carpenter at BCarp3 on Twitter. Catch him right here on the OutKick Network. Carp's Corner. It is fantastic. It really is. It's great. It's not good. It's great. And Bobby, as you can tell, he brings it every time. All right, we come back. I got some PSAs, public service announcements. Our guy Arky Shea is going to be here, and he is going to break down some betting action for you. I continue to be on fire. I was 2-1 again last night. That puts me at about 14-3, I think, since I got serious about this stuff here on my show. You want to make money? You just come hang with me. We'll be back. Hey, welcome back. Bobby Carpenter, absolutely great as always. I mean, he is really good, and I appreciate Bobby taking the time. Hopefully he's on next week when I can wish him Merry Christmas again. Hey, thanks everybody on the YouTube channel. El Presidente is out there, and he's getting it done for everybody. A lot of haters, a lot of bitches, a lot of whiners today, but that's good. I like it. The show is not don't at me. I'm taking the don't at. You can go ahead and at me. You can go ahead and bring it. I'll read your dumbass tweets if you're going to get mad at me, and I'll read your really smart tweets if you're going to be smart enough to agree with me. That's all it comes down to. I mean, let's be honest. If you agree with me, you're a genius. If you disagree with me, out of hell with you. All right, you ready for some PSAs, public service announcements via Dakich. I talked about this for a minute with Bobby Carpenter. I thought this was interesting. Travis Hunter, who is either the number 1 or number 2 player in the country, is a corner. He had committed to Florida State. Now, you got to understand something. Mike Norvell at Florida State got him an extension, but we all know that extensions don't really matter, do they? With college coaches. College coach will walk out on an extension. College coach will get fired after he just signed an extension. We all know the deal. But anyway, so Norvell gets this prize recruit. Well, guess what? Deion Sanders had promised the boys over at Barstool that he was going to have a surprise on signing day. And guess what happened? Travis Hunter flipped to Jackson State, where Neon Deion is the coach. Now, there's rumors out there that it's a $1 million deal, NIL deal, and a lot of coaches are up in arms about it, but that's fine. But in talking to Bobby Carpenter, he made the point, and it's a very good point. You know, a lot of players have come from the 1AA, Division II, whatever you want, ranks, both in professional basketball and in the NFL. And you can name Walter Payton, best player I ever saw. A lot of people feel Jerry Rice is the best player they ever saw. There's a number of them. Carson Wentz, quarterback right here in Indianapolis, came from there. But anyway, it is a little different, though, now. The facilities are different. The training is different. The money is different, meaning Florida State had put all this money into all this stuff. It's going to be very interesting to see three things, actually. Number one, is this a trend? We saw it with a couple of people in college basketball, and it did not work out. One of the kids went to Howard and didn't work out. Didn't play, got hurt, whatever the deal was. It just didn't work out. It really hasn't worked out in college basketball. College football is different. A lot more players in the NFL. The second thing about this, not only is it a trend, but what does Deion Sanders do with this kid? What does Deion Sanders do? You're talking about the number 2 player coming out of high school. Generally, and I don't have the numbers in front of me, but I would bet 95% of the number 2 players in high school that go to the Alabamas, the Ohio States, places like that, end up in the NFL. What does Deion Sanders do? Look, if this kid becomes a superstar, if this kid becomes a Heisman Trophy candidate, if this kid becomes a top 5 pick, experiment well with it. If he doesn't, what's that going to say? And then the third thing, and I think this actually should be the first thing, what does Deion Sanders do? You're telling me, prime time. The guy that I was a little bit older than him, but when we were all in college, right after college, Deion Sanders and Brian Bosworth were the first ones to really go individual for themselves. Now, it worked out fine for both. It worked out great for Deion Sanders. And the thing that I like about Deion Sanders, how do I put this? He's got this flash to him, right? But there's a seriousness about him. I think he got a degree in economics during his time at Florida State. Now, for me personally, maybe not for you, but for me personally, a guy that can barely add, a guy that got a D+ in finite math, a freshman math course at Indiana, so I had to major in telecommunications. I got a lot of respect for a guy that can go through, get an economics degree from a business school of a major university while being an All-American and while, at the time, playing baseball as well. So I have a ton of respect for Deion Sanders, but I am curious, and Bobby Carpenter just said this. You know, Mike Norvell is not on real great footing at Florida State. Made a little comeback in the season, signed a little extension, but you've got this persona of Deion Sanders hovering over you. He's over you. And he's winning football games 11-1, and he's turning number 1 recruits from Florida State. I think it's inevitable that Deion Sanders is the head coach at Florida State or is the head coach in the NFL, one of the two, if that's what he chooses to do. But I think this is interesting. I'm not sure this is going to be a trend. I'm anxious to see what happens with the kid, and I'm anxious to see what happens with Deion Sanders. Remember this. The Super Bowl is going to be in Las Vegas in 2024. The Super Bowl was in Indy a few years ago. Now, I'm not a guy anymore. I was divorced then, so I'd go out. I like going out then. Act like an idiot, go out. I was divorced, what I care? I had a girlfriend who had a boyfriend, that kind of thing, Ended up marrying the girl, but that's, and I'm the love of my life, so I got lucky as hell. But I know what these media guys and all these people that are sitting out there being so judgmental on Urban Meyer, and you think Vegas? You put this crew in Vegas, this crew, these coaches, this crew, these media guys, this crew, these personnel people, they get it on here in Indianapolis during the Combine. Indianapolis. Downtown Indianapolis is not exactly Vegas. So I'm anxious to see how this whole thing's transpire. Remember I told you this, 2024 is not that far off. Ferris Bueller said it best, life comes at you fast, baby. 2024 will be here before you know it. Remember this. Don't bet on the Super Bowl until the day of the Super Bowl. Man of the Year years ago was a corner. I think his name was Robinson for the Atlanta Falcons. Man of the Year. Got arrested soliciting a prostitute night before the Super Bowl. Big old center for the Raiders. Disappeared night before the Super Bowl. Don't bet the 2024 Super Bowl until the game day. And watch the blotter for all these sanctimonious guys. All these guys, well, Urban Meyer's an adulterer. Yeah, okay. Just watch the blotter. All right, the mad crapper. That's what we call DeAndre Hopkins here. When DeAndre Hopkins, stud wide receiver, was coming out of Clemson and he came here to the Combine, he and a wide receiver from Rutgers, for whatever the reason, I think I talked about this the other day, decided to shit up an entire hotel room, throw it on the wall, do all this really sick stuff. So we refer to him as the mad crapper. Like Grandpa Polian told the Colts, don't draft him, all that kind of stuff, and you really couldn't in Indianapolis. So the mad crapper went a little bit later. The mad crapper has now become a really good NFL player, DeAndre Hopkins. And the mad crapper is out for the season, and that's a big deal, and I'll tell you why. He may come back for the playoffs. But without the mad crapper, the most explosive, fun offense in the NFL is not as explosive and not as fun. Like, I absolutely loved watching Kyler Murray the other day. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins did a whole lot. A couple catches in the second half. Rondale Moore's a stud. They're going to have to get him the ball more. But when I watch the NFL, I like to see scoring. I like to see you dropping back and throwing the ball if it's not Jonathan Taylor rushing the ball. So the mad crapper being out, I don't like. I want my DeAndre Hopkins jumping up in the crowd. But it is a big deal, and it does shift the balance of power in the NFC. In the NFC, you basically have the Green Bay Packers, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Rams, and the Cardinals. Cardinals beat the Rams. Rams beat the Cardinals. Decimated Cardinals team. Was good enough, tough enough, strong enough to go get that done, and that was good. But without the mad crapper, I'm not so sure. Texas A&M at one point was the number one recruiting class in the country. I think Alabama beat them. Does it really matter? How much does this really matter? Well, I think it matters a lot. Like, there are certain things as you go through coaching that you learn that you really didn't know. And one of them is this: momentum in your program. Now, what does that mean? Well, Urban Meyer and his program in Jacksonville never had momentum. It was always this. If any jump up was met with two steps back. Never really got momentum. Never really got like juice going. Well, momentum's hard to recover when you don't have it. Because what happens is, and you guys know this, what happens is the media jumps on the negative story. 57-year-old white guy, the easiest guy in the world to bully. Believe me, I know. But the truth of the matter is, there's momentum among your fans when you're number one. I don't know if that's going to mean Texas A&M is going to win national championship. I pretty much know it's going to mean that Alabama is going to play for the national championship, if not win it, depending on who's won or two. But the truth of the matter is that's big time for Jimbo Fisher, because Jimbo Fisher's been pretty smart. Every time a name comes out or a name school comes out, Jimbo Fisher's agent gets on the horn and, hey, look, what would you offer? And then Jimbo Fisher's agent releases it and tells everybody he turned down $57 million, $87 million, $110 million. That can wear on a fan base. Remember this, big donors have egos too. Big donors are sitting there going, yeah, what now? Huh? You're sniffing around LSU, Jimbo? Didn't I just build you a new facility? You told me it's going to be here. It wears on you. It does. So Jimbo Fisher, now he got number one, number two recruiting class. So in his case, it does matter. I'll tell you who else in case it matters, Mike Krzyzewski. Mike Krzyzewski's never won when his players haven't been better than the other team. He's always had to have better players. I digress. ESPN, monster hit piece on Rick Carlisle, the head coach of the Indiana Pacers. Rick Carlisle was the head coach, won a championship with Dirk and Kidd and those guys back in the Dallas days. Since then, it hasn't gone great. He's got a star in Luka Doncic, who's become a big fat guy. So anyway, years later, now I guess a year or two later, they're doing a hit piece on the relationship between Luka Doncic and Rick Carlisle and what happened. Well, you know, everybody knows what happened. Rick Carlisle is the only white guy to be hired in the NBA. And I know this for a fact. ESPN in their basketball seminar said, look, we're not telling anything but diverse stories. Rick Carlisle's an easy guy to come after, right? Rick Carlisle made Luka Doncic. Rick Carlisle got rid of a kid named Dennis Smith, who was a ball-hogging guard that, frankly, is mediocre at best. Luka Doncic was buddies with Smith. The coach, who, by the way, played and won NBA championships, understood that the two, even though they were friends, didn't need to be together. So he got rid of Smith. I guess he embarrassed him, according to the soft-ass world of NBA players. Doncic, a 21-year-old, didn't like how, quote, Carlisle treated other people. Who the hell is it for a 21-year-old? How about we don't evaluate? How about we just participate? So what happens? Doncic gets fat. Carlisle gets mad. Carlisle is forced out. Next thing you know, Doncic, what does he do? He gets really fat. 30 pounds overweight. What happens when you get fat in the NBA? You get hurt. What's Doncic? He's hurt. The big bad wolf was gone. The big bad wolf. Oh, the mean guy, Rick Carlisle. And by the way, I'm no great Rick Carlisle fan. He beat us in '84. He was playing at Virginia. I was playing at Indiana. He beat us in the Elite Eight. I turned the ball over. He missed a free throw. We missed a jump shot. They beat us. Still a bad memory that I think about every day. So I'm not a big Carlisle fan, but I get tired of these hit pieces. Years after, right? Years after, he told some player that just got kicked out of a game, get the F out of here, you got 2 points. Well, he should have told that player that. Why is it so bad that a coach understands that if a kid like Luka Doncic is left to his own devices, he's going to get fat, and it's not going to be productive? Why? Why is that so bad? You didn't have to do that with Michael Jordan. You didn't have to do that with Magic Johnson. You didn't have to do that with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. You didn't have to do that with Karl Malone, John Stockton. You didn't have to do that with Scottie Pippen. But you had to do that with Luka Doncic, and the coach that did it with Luka Doncic and made him great is the bad guy, because Luka Doncic didn't get to do what Luka Doncic wanted to do. My ass. Man, drive you nuts. So now Luka Doncic sits his ass on a sideline last night because he's too fat, and when you're too fat in the NBA, you get hurt. Don't tell me Luka Doncic is going to be one of the all-time greats. All-time greats in the NBA get better. All-time greats develop a hook shot like Magic, a jump shot like Magic, a step back, and a post game like Bird, an all-around game, shooting the basketball like we saw last night with LeBron. LeBron ever fat? Hell no. Got to coach guys differently. Can't coach everybody the same. You can't kiss everybody's ass. Us Serbians will eat. We'll eat. We'll drink Šljivo. We'll have beers with the boys. I never smoked, but every Serbian I know smokes. Get out of here with that crap, ESPN. That's just a hit piece, an easy one, an unfair one. All right, listen to this. Listen to your Saturday, will you please? Come listen to Uncle Dan. When I put my hat on, that means I'm being Uncle Dan. Come listen to Uncle Dan. 2 NFL games. This is all just Saturday. 7 NBA games. 10 NHL games. 104 college basketball games. There's your Saturday. That's your Saturday. I cannot wait. See this? This is a fat ass right here. You know what this fat ass is going to be doing? What I'm doing right now. Sitting. Whatever I got to get done is getting done. I've already informed my beautiful wife, Lee. I ain't doing nothing in the afternoon. I'm going to be in Florida, you know. But I ain't doing nothing. Let's talk about the games I'm looking forward to. Patriots at the Colts. Oh, baby. Indy is red hot right now. The Colts and the town. Downtown stinks. Everybody's shooting everybody. We're setting all-time records for murders. But I digress. Indy has not been this excited since Peyton Manning came back with the Broncos. Indy is hot. Indy's best team in the AFC, and they're going to prove it on Saturday night. I'm telling you right now, you're going to bet something? Bet that, Jack. Indy is the best team in the AFC. They are going to the Super Bowl. I put $100 down on it, actually twice. So I put $200 to win $2,800. They are going not to win the Super Bowl. I don't know if they can beat the team in the AFC, but NFC. But I've watched all these AFC teams, and to quote the great Carlos Zambrano of the Cubs, they stinks. They absolutely stinks. So that's the first game I'm watching. It comes at night. Second game I'm looking at is Kentucky at Ohio State in hoops. John Calipari, one of my all-time favorites, but I like making fun of him because he doesn't like going places. He doesn't like going on the road and playing teams. He got beat at Indiana a few years ago, vowed never to come back because some girl that was like a Playmate of the Year or something got her ankle stepped on. Went to Notre Dame, got his ass beat, rushed the floor. I'm sure he'll never go back. But this CBS Classic is pretty good. Actually, it's really good. There's a lot of good hoops this weekend. And Kentucky against Ohio State, you're going to see a kid named E.J. Liddell for Ohio State. It's really, really good. Ohio State's beaten Duke already. They've gotten off to a really good start. Had a bad loss at Xavier without some players. You're going to like that game. Third game I'm going to watch. Notre Dame, this total homer pick. I'm sorry, but this is a total homer pick. There's a thing called the Crossroads Classic. Now think about this on Saturday in Indy. You can watch Indiana play Notre Dame and Purdue play Butler downtown Indy, and then go literally a block away, and you got the Patriots coming in against the Colts. Now, that's a hell of a day. I mean, I know people make fun of Indianapolis, and rightfully so, but we're proud of us. We're proud of ourselves. The best sports town in the country. We care about putting on events better than anybody. And this crosstown shootout, it's his last year, and I'm going to talk to Mike Woodson on my other show today. I'm going to talk to Mike Bray, the head coach of Notre Dame, on my show from noon to 3 today. But this thing has been wonderful. It's a Final Four type environment. And Indiana playing Notre Dame is going to be interesting from this standpoint. Notre Dame just beat Kentucky. Huge win. Notre Dame has been struggling. They beat Kentucky, and college kids generally, unless your team is pretty good, hard to come back from. Indiana was up 22 in the first half, 17 at halftime against Wisconsin. They blew the lead, came back and beat Merrimack, which is fine. But when you go to I think it's called Gainbridge now in Indiana, when you go to Gainbridge Fieldhouse, it's 99.9% IU fans. There'll be 0.01%, or what is it, 0.1%? I don't even know. Notre Dame fans. Going to be a fun game. Get a chance, give it a watch. I think it's on Fox. You'll like it. Second game is Butler and Purdue. Purdue might be the best team in the country. Butler had a good win at Oklahoma. That's a good one, too. It's a hell of a doubleheader right here in our fair little city. Hell of a tripleheader when you continue with the Colts. So fly in, stay at the Conrad, go over to St. Elmo's, go upstairs. The bar's called 1933. You'll really like it. You can get the same menu. St. Elmo's is iconic, and it's iconic because it's really good. It's going to be a good day to be in Indy. All right, the last game that I'm watching really is kind of an inconsequential game, but it's the first bowl game, and it starts at noon on Friday. Middle Tennessee against Toledo. I know this. I know Middle Tennessee is in Murfreesboro. I know Murfreesboro is a little bit east of Nashville. That's the extent of what I know. I think they got a coach named Stockwell who's pretty good. Toledo used to be my rival when I was at Bowling Green. My wife went to Toledo. She's in the Toledo Hall of Fame. She's a freaking legend. Are you kidding me? Ask anybody in the Toledo area about Lee Ross, and they'll tell you best female athlete in the history of the area, whether it's Southern Michigan or Toledo. But that's the extent of what I know about Toledo football. And I honestly don't care. Why do I not care? Because it's bowl season, baby. And at noon on Friday, again, see this? It's a fat ass. See this fat ass? It's going to be sitting. It's going to be betting. It's going to be winning. At noon, when I'm doing my other show, right there will be a bowl. And I love it. You know what it feels like? It feels like you're skipping school. You know what I mean by that? You ever skip school? Back where I lived, every once in a while, opening day in Wrigley, you'd skip school. You'd skip school and you'd go to Wrigley. Now, you guys think Wrigley is one of those deals where, I don't know, people, it's packed. No, back in the day, you could sit down the left field line and chase foul balls till you're blue in the face. You're chasing. It's great. That feeling is awesome. That feeling of being on vacation. You know what I'm saying? You jump in there, you're sitting there, you're watching, you're hanging. It's a wonderful, wonderful feeling. That's what bowl season is to me. That's what the NCAA tournament is to me. I'm sitting there and I'm watching in the middle of the afternoon. I'm not a big day drinker. A lot of people like the day drink. I don't like it because I get tired. Back in the day, I liked day drinking because I used to get nuts. I mean, there are epic stories of the great Uwe Blop and myself and my boy Pilar and Custer and Roger hanging off luggage racks at IU's Little 500. The drinking started on Thursday at like 8. But I'm too old for that now. When I drink, I pee. When I drink, I need an adult diaper. Who in the hell wants to day drink and end up hanging out with an adult diaper? Not I. So at the end of the day, I don't know. I'm just going to watch and then have a couple of beers when the Colts game comes on. You guys day drink. Not me. It's just not my thing. But that's a great weekend, don't you think? I mean, I can't wait. This guy, this fat ass, is going to be doing some sitting. I'm going to be doing some watching. And I'm going to be doing some betting. Speaking of betting, we got our guy Arky. Arky coming up right now. And by the way, don't forget, we're not only live on YouTube, we're not only live on, where the hell are we live? We're live on YouTube, we're live on Twitter. Got a lively YouTube conversation going. Guys are on there ripping my ass. Do I did a discount because Dakich sent me to Indy? Yeah, tell him I sent you. Yeah. Hey, Dan, did Coach Knight ever tell you to get in shape? No. Dan Dakich is the home office in front of a virtual graphic. Does Dakich still hate Bob Knight? I don't hate anybody. I just don't respect him. Just saying. 14-3 with picks. Arky coming up next. Do this. Pen. Paper. gambling hat. Let's go. We'll be back. He's a legend, ladies and gentlemen. You see him, you know him, you love him. He might be drunk. I don't know. He was telling, Stephanie and Lauren and Donnie, he might be hammered today. I don't know. But Arky, Shea, host of OutKick the Bets. You been tipping early, big boy?
You always got a tip. Come on, man. It's lunchtime where I'm at. It's lunchtime where you're at, too. Come on. Let's start early, brother.
I'm going to start at about 3:15. I got to do one more show. Hey, Arky, let me ask you a simple question. You ready?
Let's do it.
Ryan Clark said the Chiefs were broke a few weeks ago. The Chiefs haven't lost since Ryan Clark said they were broke. The Chiefs tonight, I think it's going to be a hell of a game, are -3 with an over-under at 52. Is this broke-ass team got a shot tonight?
I don't know, man. Like, they are pretty limping into this game. Like, I think they've, only won 6 straight games? That's not very good if you ask me. It's a pretty damaged team at this point. I don't know why Andy Reid's still considered the head coach there. But maybe you just let him play out the season and, maybe he doesn't make it to the tarmac like Lane Kiffin did in L.A. a few seasons ago. I think this game is obviously a very good spot for Kansas City. If you pay attention to Kansas City, you remember when they started 3-4 earlier this season, they had 17 turnovers in that stretch. Since then, during their 6-game winning streak, they have 6. So it's clearly about two things. One, it's about the fact that they have figured out how to minimize the turnovers. Also, a lot doesn't get discussed about how the fact that the Kansas City has basically a brand new offensive line. And so that takes a little bit of time to gel. And so when Ryan Clark said the team was broken, yeah, it kind of was, but it was also being spackled together in the last several weeks. And now, as you see, we get closer and closer to crunch time. The more and more games this team gets together, that defense looks great too. That offense is starting to click. Patrick Mahomes is making fewer mistakes. He's also having to feel less like he's got to control the game with every single snap. So I think Kansas City's in a great spot right now to probably be the number 1 seed going into the AFC tournament round or side of the bracket for the playoffs. But New England still sticks there. So Kansas City's in a great spot. I love Kansas City tonight -3. They're scoring a whole bunch of points when they need to. They got a good chance to beat obviously LA this week. They're in a better spot. And I'll tell you this: Brandon Staley against veteran coaches isn't that great. Bill Belichick took him to the woodshed earlier in Los Angeles this year. John Harbaugh took him to the woodshed earlier this year. Mike Tomlin's the only guy that he has some success with, but we all know what a disaster Pittsburgh sort of roster is from week in and week out, so it's not hard to see how they got to win there. But for the most part, a rookie coach versus a veteran, really, really good coach like Andy Reid is, I feel like in this case, even at home, I got to trust the veteran coach in here. And I really like Kansas City in this game -3.
We're talking Sunday football. Arky, Shea. Arky, what do you think a high-scoring game here? 52 is kind of a lot. What are your thoughts on the high scoring or the scoring in this game?
Yeah, 52 is a lot. Like I feel like Justin Herbert versus this defense for Kansas City isn't a great matchup. So if I'm going to go to the 52 tonight, I feel like I got to expect at least 20 points from them, right? And I just don't think I see it. They're a very good second-half team, too, offensively. But again, Justin Herbert going against this Kansas City defense who is in a rhythm. They are rolling right now. I don't know if I would trust the 52 at this point. I'm not playing it at all because I very easily could see it going one way or the other. And the toss-up I don't like as much for me. So I'll play the spread. I trust that a lot more. I really don't know how many points I expect in this one. I would lean under, but I don't know, man. I really don't know. Justin Herbert could get a little loose.
Uh-oh. What did I do? I don't know what happened. I know this. When you don't take the over, the deep state will cut you out. We weren't talking about the Clintons. We weren't talking about Biden. We weren't. Hey, deep state, leave us the hell alone. It's just Dan and Arky having a chat about some ball games, wearing a bad hat. Jeez.
Yeah, we were talking about the left coast game, though, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think there's something there. All right. I put this game in there because I thought Urban Meyer had to win a couple of games to save his job. That obviously hasn't happened. But let's stay with the Texans at the Jaguars. Jaguars right now -3.5, under 40. If you get the 40, you win the over-under. Interesting game here. What do you see happening here under Darrell Bevell in the Jacksonville Jags?
Dan, the time has finally arrived to play the Jacksonville Jaguars on the spread. It is going to be a great, great, great day for the Jacksonville fans and for the team itself. Listen, Urban Meyer clearly was the problem with that franchise. There was just nothing good about him. There was no good spirit about him. At the very least, he seemed to be kind of the coach that barely Shad Khan was hanging on to just because he liked him. He gets rid of him finally after the latest report about Josh Lambo being kicked basically in the leg while he's stretching. And you sort of get where the momentum could be coming forward for Jacksonville. Now, Trevor Lawrence is interesting in this game because Trevor Lawrence has not thrown a touchdown pass since Halloween. Or since Halloween. He has 9 touchdowns on the season. Just 9. And 3 of them happen to be in their first matchup against the Texans. So, this is a big-time good spot. If you play it now, forget about the COVID. You got to play this right now because it's probably going to go more and more into Jacksonville's favor because of this. Houston's not a very good team right now. They are missing all kinds of guys. They're trading guys. They're sitting guys. They are basically playing for the number 1 pick right now. And Jacksonville's got a little bit of swag and momentum about them because of now the loss of Urban Meyer. Remember what happened when John Gruden was let go by the Raiders? They ended up winning a couple of games in a row, including covering the very next week against the Denver Broncos. So I feel a similar vibe here, except for this team really, really hated Urban Meyer. So if there's a time to play the Jacksonville Jaguars, it's right now. So I would take Jacksonville. I'd probably buy it down to 3 just to be safe. But I don't even know if you need the safety at this point. I think they win by a touchdown this weekend, and they do it at home. And as soon as you can get to the prop for Trevor Lawrence touchdown passes, go to it, look for the over 1.5, and as long as it's not minus 175 juice, go ahead and take it. This is the game for him to show out just a little bit and breathe, and we finally made it, Dan, to the Jacksonville Jaguars winning section of the season.
And the Texans stink.
They are awful.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, you ready?
Yes.
Wait a second. 40, 38, 39.5 is a low number. Would you go up and over that? No, yes?
I would not go over that. I don't think this is a Jacksonville winning 35-20 kind of situation. I think this is them winning like a 24-10 kind of situation, 24-13.
Yeah.
So if you're going to play it, I'd still lean the under. Jacksonville's still not great, even though I just praised them a little bit. I'm just giving them a little bit of love in a very nice spot. They still only have a couple of days before the game anyway, so it's not like they've had the entire week with that, Urban.
No, I agree. It may take them a month and a half for both of those teams to get to 40, but who knows? All right, the Titans, who as a Colt fan, if the Colts can get in, I would love at some point to see the Titans, at least the way they're going right now. They're actually a favorite going into Pittsburgh. Big Ben's looked a little better, hasn't he, Arky?
Yes, so the thing about Big Ben is that he does not look very good in the first half of games. But if you get him down by 5 touchdowns, he's ready to play, and he looks like old Big Ben. So it's a very weird scenario with Ben Roethlisberger. and the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I don't think the Titans are going to get up by 5 touchdowns on the Steelers. So I think we're going to see a little bit more of a struggling Big Ben. That Titans defense is really, really stingy, and they're getting more and more and more healthy as we get toward the back end of the season. And that's bad news for other teams that are going to be on their schedule, because that defense is what's helped them together. Also, that running game. Despite the fact that Derrick Henry's been out, they're still the third-ranked rushing defense in the league when it comes to yards per game. Pittsburgh's giving up, they're the 30th ranked rushing defense in the league. That is sort of their Achilles heel. You saw it last week against Dalvin Cook coming back in that game. He just roasted them for 200-plus yards in that game. And I'm not saying Tennessee's going to go for that. I'm saying that's what their bread and butter is going to be this week, especially on the road. Look, the Titans are good. The Titans are good, and they're just trying to get another win or two before Derrick Henry comes back, and then they'll be borderline great and have a great chance to go deep into the playoffs and make it to the Super Bowl. So I love the Titans in this situation, -1.5. I think the Titans go on the road and they win, and they probably win by a full touchdown, maybe even a little bit more. Mike Vrabel is underrated as a really good coach in this league. And he's really good against the spread. He's really good as a small favorite. He's great as an underdog. And he's close to an underdog in this one. And that's why I think I like the Titans here in this situation, -1.5. And I don't feel like I'd question it. Again, the only thing that gives me pause this week is waiting for all these COVID tests to come out negative. So, again, it turned out to be this week wilder than most. Maybe wait a minute or two. See if you get to Sunday and the number can stay the same if you're that worried about it. But I don't think the number is going to get much better for you than 1.5 right now. So I'd go ahead and take the Titans right now. And as a prop bet right now, you can get on FanDuel another one I like. The Titans to lead at halftime. That's -108, I think, the last time I saw on FanDuel. The Titans money line at the half. The Titans lead the half, I think, in 4 of the last 5 games. 3 of the last 5 games, and the Steelers have trailed in 4 of their last 4 games at the half. So a nice little prop play if you want to put a little extra action too.
Let me ask you another prop play. Is it, if Derrick Henry comes back, can you get a pretty good number on, and I know this is you're kind of throwing it to the wind, but can you get a decent number on the Titans winning the AFC? Derrick Henry not there, but maybe coming back, that kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, in fact, I think if you want it now, you can get a pretty good number. You can get really good value.
That's what I mean right now, yeah.
Yeah, because when Derrick Henry does come back, that will come back to earth just a little bit. So if you want to get it, I'm really confident in the Titans this weekend. So if you want that play right now for the Titans to win the AFC, I'd take it now before the Pittsburgh win, because the Titans are going to be at worst tied for second in the AFC when we get at the end of this weekend. And listen, the Titans can clinch the division with a win, and the Colts losing the night before to the Patriots, which I know you talked about earlier on the show. And if the Colts lose that game and the Titans win the next day, they're going to be your division champs and in anyway.
Hey, Arky, let me ask you one last thing about Derrick Henry.
Okay.
Do gambling sites pay off when a guy gets hurt? Because I took Derrick Henry over 1,500 yards.
It really depends on who. It depends on if you get a really, 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 really nice book to do it. Usually, no. Usually they don't. That's just part of the risk.
I know the family that ran the gambling in Northwest Indiana didn't pay off on those kind of things. So hell, why would anybody do it now? All right, last game before I let you go. We got the Packers -5.5 against the Ravens. Does Lamar Jackson change the line if he plays? I know he's day-to-day.
Yeah, I think Lamar Jackson would change the line just a little bit. But the fact that the Packers are getting 5.5 on the road, or giving 5.5 on the road, is wild, right? So I don't know how much more you're going to get for Aaron Rodgers versus whoever decides to be the quarterback if Lamar Jackson can't play. And you're alluding to it right there with Lamar Jackson not practicing yesterday. They've already lost Marlon Humphrey for the year. The week before, he's gone with a torn pec. They lost 7 starters this season. 3 in the secondary to injuries that are going to keep him out for the rest of the year. The fact that John Harbaugh is keeping this team afloat and leading the division, he's got to give votes for Coach of the Year right now because it just doesn't physically make sense that they can do this. Now, they're a little chilly right now. They even came back last week to cover the spread, even though they didn't beat Cleveland last week. Still a strong, tough, hard-nosed team, still fighting to the bitter end. I just don't know what you do in this situation to possibly warrant Baltimore to cover and to win the game. The Packers with Aaron Rodgers are 11-1 against the spread. In fact, Aaron Rodgers is like the 4th best quarterback currently going right now in terms of against the spread. He's like 57.5% against the spread, and there's like really only one guy that's a veteran, a big-time veteran, that's ahead of him, and that's Tom Brady. And the other guy, I mean, if you want to consider him, is Teddy Bridgewater, to be for example. But like Mac Jones is ahead of him, but he's only been starting for a year. But anyway, like Aaron Rodgers is the guy, and we've talked about this on this show, Dan. How do you not trust Aaron Rodgers in any situation, especially with this team? Look, I think they had a little bit of a letdown spot defensively against Chicago. They sort of have the whole "we own you," so maybe you didn't take Chicago nearly as seriously last week. I don't think it's indicative of how bad this could be for Green Bay to give up points and to be much closer. I think you still got a great defense in Green Bay that you're paying attention to. So if I'm going anywhere in this game, and I am, by the way, I'm going to take the 5.5 for Aaron Rodgers on the road. I just don't see any other way that Aaron Rodgers doesn't dice that secondary up to complete hell this weekend. So I think Aaron Rodgers goes, and he goes big this weekend against Baltimore, and this may be the beginning of the end for the Ravens this year.
Oh, strong. We got the Steelers without Roethlisberger. We got the Ravens at beginning of the end. What you got in the show today?
Well, we got this. We got some NBA talk. We got good games on the docket today to get to as well, because it's not all about just getting ready for the weekend. Plus, bowl season starts tomorrow, Dan Dakich.
Yeah!
Bowl season starts noon Eastern tomorrow. Excuse me, with the Bahamas Bowl. We're going to talk about that and more. I'm so pumped for bowl season. This is my favorite time of the year. Playoff excitement, enthusiasm going into the end of the season for the NFL. Bowl season, you can't not get jacked up for it, and I can't wait to do it again here with Kayla Canarum coming up on OutKick Bets, the show, coming up at 11:30 Central.
You're the best, my friend. Have a great show. Bowl season tomorrow. Toledo, Middle Tennessee State. Yes, sir.
Yes,
Check out
sir.
OutKick the Bets. Arky will get you covered. Bring a pen and paper. Thank you, my friend.
Dan, appreciate it, brother. Love you, man.
All right, that is Arky Shea. I'm going to take these out because I really can't hear nothing in them. But Arky's the best, man. OutKick the Bets. You'll love it. He'll get you set up. He's smart. Again, he's not a guy that just bets every game. I mean, he's a guy that thinks about it. He's a guy that's analytic about it. He's a guy that is smart. I like hanging with smart. Before we go for the week, a couple of things. One, I want to thank everybody. But two, I'm going to get into that in a minute. But two, Charles Barkley said something interesting. Charles Barkley said, hey, look, I'm not trying to be buddies with these guys in the NBA. And that's exactly how I feel as a broadcaster. I wish more broadcasters didn't try to kiss the ass of players. I wish more broadcasters had Charles Barkley's sense of sacking up. Like, one of the things that I enjoyed when I was doing games, or when I do games now, is I like not necessarily being loved by the coaches and players. You're not here to be loved. You're not here to be buddies. You're here to call the game. You're here to be objective, and particularly at a halftime show. Like, I've always said this about the NBA media. I've always said the NBA media, of all the media, wants to be part of the, quote, scene. You know, how many NBA guys you hear with rappers and going to clubs and have the lifestyle? NBA media, more than any other media, wants to be involved in that. Major League Baseball media, more than any other media, wants to tell you how the old days worked. And football media wants to show you how smart they are. That's pretty much the three medias. But the NBA media in particular, man, do they kiss ass. I remember watching Stephen A. Smith circle the court like this like he was observing. And everybody was supposed to genuflect. This was at the Eastern Conference Finals in Indy. And I remember laughing because players were just laughing at him and he didn't even know. But there's no reason. Sack the hell up, media members. I mean, son of a gun. Now it's weird, right? Because I'm sitting here defending Urban Meyer. Why? Because he's my friend, but I don't really cover the NFL other than on this or on my radio show. I don't do games with it. I'm talking about like Big Ten coaches. Hell, Izzo went all after me, and I wore it like a badge of honor. Like, what do I care? I love Izzo, but what do I care? You know what I'm saying? Coaches should get mad at you once in a while. Coaches should get upset with you. Players should get upset with you because you're probably one of the only few people in these dudes' lives that is actually saying the truth. Most people, like coaches, have these kingdoms. There's like a pyramid, and they're at the mount. You know, what's his face? John Wooden, Pyramid of Success. It was basically, I'm at the mount with Sam Gilbert, and we're going to pay the best players in the country to come here. And oh, by the way, yeah, respect your teammates and do all the other stuff. Nobody tells coaches, nobody tells players the truth. So as a broadcaster, that's what you're paid to do. So sack the hell up, broadcasters. Stop trying to be boys. You NFL guys, you ain't that damn smart, so stop trying to act smart. You just sound stupid. All right. Last thing, got to say thank you to all of you that listened, that watched, that emailed, that hated, that loved, that commented, that texted, that tweeted, that twerked. Thanks to all of you for paying attention. We're going to be back at it Monday. I got to also always thank Jesse and Donnie and Lauren and Stephanie for doing all of the work behind the scenes. Every night I get homework and every night I fill it out. Every night I'm a good little boy, like I was in Sister Geraldine's third grade class until she threw me out because I flipped her off. My friend Freddie Viana said it's the first time I've ever seen anybody use the finger was in third grade. Andy Atar was throwing things, dancing on his desk, and I was giving her the bird. You know what I'm saying. Anyway, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful weekend. It might be the most volume of sports. It might be the most fun weekend. If you see me somewhere out, make sure you say hello. I might be at Seed the Table in Naples, that place that pisses everybody off. They got great food. Anyway, have a wonderful, wonderful weekend. Thanks to everybody. And go Colts. I hope they beat the living shit out of the Patriots.